So for clarity, so this is the Historic Commission meeting,
Steal it.
and we do not have a quorum of the Historic District Commission, so we are not calling that one to order. Which is fine, there's nothing on that one. So then, I guess.
It's the North Ave book.
Just trying to pull up.
The what book?
The North Ave book.
We see the North Ave book.
So we have no minutes.
Are these current pictures?
No.
No. These are old pictures.
And then once we get Kathy back, we'll,
Okay.
so I emailed you all, we have a request for demolition delay at 63 Milford Street. I believe the owner is on the call.
Okay.
Late 1980s.
Oh, okay.
Mid-70s.
Just pull up the information on this.
Taking this stuff.
Just want to confirm that this is in fact on the inventory. Historic Commission. Inventory. Okay. All right, so 63 Milford Street, 1900, it is on the inventory. So I don't know, I think he's here if you have any questions, but I think really the main thing is now we need to set a hearing date.
Yeah.
So the house was built in 1900, it's on the inventory. The potential problem is it's gonna be real tricky to schedule something in November. Um,
2 weeks in November. Paul, are you on?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
How are you, Paul? Good, how are you?
Doing well.
We have until December 14th unless we mutually agree to extend it. So I don't know if we want to think about dates. I mean, I'm booked literally every night until November 5th, which is election day.
Yeah.
Or we can wait a little longer. We can meet that final week of November, 25. That's the beginning of Thanksgiving week.
Paul, what is your time frame? Where are you at in the planning process?
So right now we're kind of in more of a design phase at this point because I kind of had to, under advisement of the contractor and a few other people who are in, the specialty repair of foundations and stuff. I've had to kind of switch gears, so I'm kind of now back at the planning stage from our original plan of trying to essentially remodel what's here. So I'm certainly not. It's not critical that it gets done, within the next month or so.
Okay, all right, are you looking at a total demolition or partial or?
At this point, it's probably going to end up being total. With the plan is to salvage as much of essentially the timbers that we can, of the part of the structure that has some post and beam that was reclaimed from another property. But at this point, it's going to have to be total demolition due to the condition of the foundation.
Yeah, is it a fieldstone foundation, Paul?
It is, and the main reason for that is we never really had issues until the parking lot behind our house got paved, and now ever since that happened, any major rain event, we've been having groundwater come up, and it's been causing settling in the floor and on the jack supports and on the walls of the foundation.
Yeah, that's very problematic, poor stormwater management.
That's all got
Are
paved?
you clear
Sorry.
as to what is going to take place on the parcel behind you?
On the parcel that the former Amazon parking lot.
Yes,
Yeah, so that's now a truck driving a CDL school. Um, I believe I believe the building inspectors did come out and said that everything they've done stormwater management wise is acceptable, so there's no further action by the landowner, I believe.
okay, all right. And I think we would advise, because we've seen properties, you know, with different proposals that turn around and turn into something different. Just to make sure that there's no variation in what that property's been granted for. You know, I'm sure you may look at the historical facts behind how it ended up getting to be what it is now and what the potential changeover could be, because it does affect you as a homeowner.
Right.
And it could, you know, I don't know if I would imagine their operating hours are pretty good, you know,
Yep.
and not terribly disruptive, but long range, you know, maybe look at what the plan is for that.
Yeah, that's something I've done. I've already started the process of planting large trees along the property line. I also acquired an additional acre and a half directly behind my house, so that no one is able to build as an abutter to my property, because I now abut the development behind my property.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So that's essentially why I'm looking to do the work I am now. This is kind of going to be our home for at least the next 35 or so years. So that was kind of the process of that was the kind of the thought behind the original renovation, was to be a renovation with an addition. But I mean, unfortunately, the issues that have arose in the past, 9 months have kind of we've had to shift gears essentially.
Okay, all right, well, good to know. Is there any other background information that you want us to know?
With,
Besides, I think you covered everything, but,
Right. Well, with regards to the, I mean, the other things is too. I mean, it's at this point, any historical significance of this house other than the frame has kind of been lost. It's vinyl siding, it's vinyl windows. Unfortunately, it's changed hands so many times, and each person that thought they were handy tried to put their spin on it, and you know, there's electrical issues. At this point, this house would, even if I was to keep the existing, would be a complete gut down to the absolute bare frame. I know there was termite damage in the past. The sills have been replaced, but they never went into the walls. So we're not even 100% sure of what we might uncover should we try and salvage any of the actual, original structure at this point. So that was kind of why, at this point, basic cost estimate, would be almost 1/3 more to try and preserve versus a complete knockdown and rebuild of a new structure at this point.
do you have any questions? Thank you, Paul.
Mhm.
And you both familiar with the property?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. All right, so Paul, why don't we set a hearing date and we'll move forward with that. And basically, we'll send out notices to the abutters, just let them know that this is what your intention is. We will do our research on the historic, you know, anything that's particularly historic about the property, and then we'll just sit down and discuss, make a determination.
Okay.
All right?
I'm not seeing anything on Macris. I was doing a few quick searches.
Yeah, nothing.
I didn't even think to look at Patrice's site just to see if there was anything that sticks out.
So Paul, if we had to push this into December, that would be all right for you for a hearing date?
Yes, yeah. The contractor that I use, he actually specializes in well, maybe not specializes, but does a lot of work on kind of trying to salvage older homes and kind of keep them. And he's pretty booked out at this point.
Okay.
So, there's no problem with even a month or two delay.
Okay, all right, we'll try to get you in first thing in December. Is there some dates?
Yeah, I was looking at the calendar, I am literally booked every night in November, with the exception of like 3 of them.
How about the first week in December?
There's some time, the week of Thanksgiving, the first week in December. My only holdup, if we have to, could we push it to the December 9th? Is that too late? Only because I'd love to try and avoid commitments before the tree lighting.
That would be very
I'm
nice.
gonna spend most of my time on a ladder at the park.
Yes.
Um,
I think that sounds great, so if we do a hearing for December 9th, we'll do our regular
Let me
meeting.
just check,
Be done.
let me look at the planning board, so they're first, second, third, so they're first and third. So that should hopefully avoid planning board. We just need to make sure, but at least as long as all of us are available, then hopefully that, it should be a quorum at least.
Yeah, and we could meet, you thinking about a conflict of meeting space?
This seems to, I don't think you're ever gonna have a situation where both are booked on top, because nobody else meets
Yeah.
Mondays.
Okay,
Just us, ZBA and planning, but planning, yeah, or not even Mondays, I think we're fine.
all right, so Paul, December 7th?
No.
Oh.
You're first.
We'll show up for both days, Paul, it's okay. Bring us coffee. December 9th, 7 PM.
That'll work.
And we'll send you all the paperwork that, you would get information as an abutter.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see it in Viewpoint, when I push it through, it'll generate the letter, it's all automated. Just so we get that in the mail, get it posted.
Anything else?
No.
No, all right, we're good, Paul.
All right, excellent. Thank you very
All
much.
right, have a nice Thanksgiving, we'll see you in December. All right. You didn't see anything on Macris?
I looked quickly, I didn't see anything specific on that lot. And I know, I remember there was, the gentleman on the corner we spoke with, he was in Macris, Barekis, remember he,
Burgess, yeah.
no, Bakar, was a B. Remember Chris Bakar, his parents, and then there was a couple of those houses that were real funky,
Yeah,
and had architecture. Taft is the name on the, Patrice's research, but this looks like it's just an old little house, it's not
Yeah,
some
yeah.
masterwork of architectural.
I think the other two that are multifamilies, those are probably more significant.
Well, the one, and I guess I'll give them credit, so that the one next door, the apartment house that's owned by Mian,
Yeah,
they renovated that.
yeah, and they keep renovating.
Is that like a stucco looking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this orange looking one.
Yeah.
Those very well could be, worker homes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, this one,
Mendon's rendition of,
and then this thing here too.
yes, exactly.
60, oh yeah, you're right, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because then his is this one, yeah, it said, Royal C. Taft, and then to Michael Harrington.
So Harrington Street.
Brackey.
Yeah.
And then eventually Taxiera, which I think owned other stuff up there. I've seen that name before.
And then that church wasn't it the original Italian-American club?
Right, but it burned
Yes.
down Harrington Street.
Okay.
That church burned, and there's a page, I think, with pictures. Where is it? I haven't been down here in a while.
Is that lot paved now?
I guess so. So I had forgotten all about that, this church. I forget what they are now, but I think the building burned and they rebuilt it. If you search, there's all the newspaper articles on the whole page.
Yeah, I'll have to go.
Yeah, I remember hearing that, so I guess on the satellite view, it's paved. That they were gonna turn it, I guess it's paved in this street view too.
As you go down the hill.
It's a CDL school.
On Hill Street,
Mm-hmm.
all of those little homes were in the Italian section. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Because, they separated by,
Yeah.
your
They did.
heritage, the Irish.
Well, that's like
One
Milford,
area,
the Irish were
right?
north and the Italians were south.
Yeah,
Irish
exactly. So
food
this
clause.
would be our mini version.
Mhm.
I wonder if they can partner with them to do all the training for the men in there. Cause now
Yeah, I
you
hope
you have to
it's-
get to get the CDL, the highway guys need, they have to go through a whole training class. The rules have changed quite a
Is
bit.
Tom still on his own board?
Yes,
Is-
I think this was a site plan. I had this vague memory of this being coming before a planning board meeting. Because it's not a ZBA issue, this is commercial property. Because they zoned this weird Harrington Street,
Right.
remember that whole mess?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, my biggest concern is it will turn into what it was proposed for originally. Which 24/7 tractor trailer
yeah.
movement in there.
Well, that's a question, I think, for this zoning bylaw review committee. Because I believe part of this, the CMRPC is taking a look at our whole table of uses.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you're in those groups, there was discussion in that, one of the warehouse, there's like an anti-warehouse group that I guess Bellingham passed a bylaw basically banning warehouses.
Really?
But we should take a look at the table of uses and see that, truck stop, is that something that we want in Mendon? I think that would be the way to prohibit that.
Yeah. I think what we need to do is we need to figure out if we're gonna do it, where is the best place? for it?
Right.
In somebody's backyard, if not,
Right, no,
it's not the location.
Right.
Anybody wants.
let's not rush it, because you know what happened with the strip club.
Yeah, I don't know I know Ellen, so they're proposing the accessory dwelling bylaw, I think, is coming up for November, because it's basically state law, right, choice, we're just gonna codify it. And I think they were working on something with flag lots or some of the stuff that keeps coming to ZBA. To see if we can try and, I guess, approve the things that they keep approving. I know I encourage people to read what prevented.
I'm getting a lot of feedback in the town where I work from lawyers who are having issues with hours. A multiplicity of issues.
Well, a lot of decisions are getting appealed. And I think, I don't know, I've only watched a few meetings, they make me a little crazy. No offense to the people, but
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at that.
I think, but yeah, I don't know, I know, I can chat with you offline. But it'd be good to, maybe as these things wind closer to town meeting, if this board maybe takes a position vote on some of these, like we've done that in the past. Where,
Yeah.
Like, water says, the water
that's
board
right.
supports this proposal to buy this property.
That's a good idea.
The residents might want to hear that. All right, so that's that. I think Hazel's on the call. Unfortunately, I forgot to put this in the agenda about the Route 16, but I did get some new information, so I think we can maybe briefly discuss. We're not making any decisions. Jeremy finally responded to me. He's back from vacation. Hang on. Jeremy. I finally watched the select board meeting where they talked, it was actually very brief, they talked about the Route 16 project.
Yep.
And my assumption is that they're going to be looking for input from this board on the Civil War monument. Let me pull up the plans, if I can get this to share. Hang on, no.
Any idea where to put that?
Well, so I know it doesn't, yeah, so you can almost see the outline of it. This is where it is right now, where my cursor is.
Yeah.
So this purple area is gonna be the new island, and the red is going away.
Okay,
So basically, MassDOT is saying, whatever the town wants to do, they'll take care of it. We wanna move it, they'll move it. We wanna do something, they're happy to do whatever. The select board basically gave them the permission to do what they need to do for the turning. So I wasn't clear if there's gonna need to be some sort of a public hearing or a joint meeting or discussion, but now Jeremy says there's no rush from my end, the project isn't even bid until next calendar year. My anticipation, and then he said, my anticipation is we can just move it back a few feet, maybe there's more, I don't know. MassDOT will move it anywhere within town we want. So I think for right now, if anybody had any thoughts or wanted to do some research on different ideas, maybe now's the time to do that and then discuss.
Can you send that
I can send this.
to everybody, just
Yeah.
so we can kind of take a look? I mean, I don't know exactly. Well, we certainly could move it back. The only issue I think I would ever have is, would it be struck by a car? But
That's
if
what I was
the turning area is there and there are lights there,
Been where it's been for all those years, knock on wood.
although this
Um,
intersection up here, there's plenty of collisions up there. Which is why we moved the joy fountain.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it's interesting, why did that have so many issues? And this is a terrible intersection, and I don't think there's ever, again, knock on wood, been an accident that has resulted in like that. The question is where would you put it? I don't know, because it does, it works with the parade route. It does, assuming it's still accessible by sidewalk. I was asking for more plans, which I haven't seen. I believe the Emerson, where the Brothers Memorial is, I think that island is going. So I have no idea what their plan is,
yeah,
but I'll have to ask John.
we really,
Which one?
really need to,
The intersection of Emerson and
The astroturf
16,
island.
the brothers, the memorial the brothers put up, I think that whole island is going away.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what conversations, like what the brothers' plan is, if they'll move that somewhere else. And the island in the North Ave intersection is going away. That little thing with the Lions landscape,
Yeah,
where the fountain used to be, that's gonna be gone.
Right.
and we need to make sure that the signage
Yes.
in there is properly located.
right.
Well, so, I know Hazel mentioned that the marker next to her house on Founder's Park, they did mention that at the select board meeting, probably because she brought it up, but I think it's known to them. But we should insist on that, and then I mentioned, I applied to Jeremy, like, there's a nice sign in the, here, if I can get this to,
There's a lot of things along Route 16 you guys.
Yeah, there are.
or if people wanted to go out and maybe take a walk and see if we can identify, so this,
I think it'd be good to go out and photograph all of these things.
Yeah.
We-
this sign.
Yeah.
We know yes.
And that time, I don't know if you were here, the time that they came to the historic district, the woman from MassDOT, she seemed to be very gung ho, like, oh, they have a whole department on historic signs, and like, it sounds like they wanna preserve this stuff too.
They said they'd put it wherever we wanted it to go.
But we should
They did
maybe
say that.
document all of these along this route. I
Yeah.
believe it's Taft Ave to the Hopedale line, if there's anything else we care about.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Dan.
Yeah,
It'd be good to follow up with them now and.
I should ask the photographers if they want to go out and take them all up.
just finished North Ave.
Perfect style.
I mean, I think we should insist that these are called out on the plans, and actually Jeremy is.
Absolutely, well documented, called out,
Yeah, here, this, if you haven't seen it, this is the other marker that's on, which I think, this is the post road marker, right? You can barely read it here.
yes, it's to Boston.
This is Hazel, and that marker I
Hey, Hazel.
Hello. Sorry, I was trying to be here, but I got caught in traffic on the way home from Cambridge. But so that sign is a Boston Post Road sign, which has been documented by the Library of Congress, and they actually documented two signs in that location. One that was older than that one, but the older one seems to have disappeared. I don't know where it is. The Library of Congress has an archive with the Boston Post Road markers and photography of them from I think either the 1920s or 1940s, like very old photographs. And it says, I think it says 36 miles to Boston, 1732.
Yeah, there was pictures. This one's almost illegible unless you get really close to it.
Yeah, it's tricky to read. Hazel, probably the only reason that that is still standing is because of that ugly telephone pole in front of it.
Oh yes, and I had a big conversation with the DOT about the telephone pole with the transformer on it, and I asked them if they were going to, as part of the road project, bury the lines there, and I got a no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was really disappointed in I attended the first meeting of the public meeting. I attended virtually when they had it on the interweb, and I listened to the plans, and I was so disappointed because it doesn't what they do to the intersection. Of course, I don't know how it could be worse, but I thought they were going to try to slow traffic and add a bike lane or a sidewalk and bury the power lines, and it's really none of that. So, you know.
We know. We know very well.
Yeah, I did actually, and I wrote to Dan about this, but I did request a number of things, a lot of it because they has their saliency to my property lines, which I'm actually going through a deed and title contestment process right now. They in the plans that I asked for a vibration and sound study, which we can do. I guess it legally something we are allowed to ask for as a town, or I asked for it personally. I don't know, whatever, but and also the section, I think it's a section 106, which is like a cultural and historic, an assessment of how the DOT's plans will affect the surrounding community. And that they have an officer in the DOT's office that, as their like cultural, I don't remember what his title is, it's cultural something, and they are required to do that, but they had not begun it as of last time I spoke to Kimberly Sloan, the project manager, and she promised me that she would have some updates and timelines for these different things that communities can have access to as far as the design of the redesign of the intersection and the road. So
I mean, if there's anything that you need from us to help, with that aspect, certainly let us know.
oh,
Oh,
thank you. I will, especially the vibration and sound study, I was very keen on. And if they push back on it, I might ask if this group might be willing to submit a group letter saying that those sound and vibration from road traffic are important, have a significant effect on historic buildings. I mean, as the Paul, the fellow who's going to have to do demo on his property because of rising water tables and stormwater, vibration also, as the trucks go by at a high rate of speed on 16, they vibrate the small historic homes that line the road who have fieldstone foundations and create damage to the foundation. And I don't feel like the DOT has done a great job addressing the fact that this is a historic community with those types of houses, and that vibration damages the home, and sound makes the community less livable. So, at least in my view.
we hear you. Yeah, have they done traffic studies, on the anticipated, number of 18-wheelers they expect to come through? Do you know? I have not
I
been
didn't
staying.
see anything like that at all. I remember during the hearing, one of the gentlemen from Mendon at the hearing inquired as to why we cannot have a roundabout in that intersection. And the DOT was a little cagey, but I think the long and short of it was that the priority is on truck traffic. Like the DOT is making sure that the roads are truck accessible because it is a state road. And yeah.
I think the deal with the roundabout, at least the one at the Millville Road intersection, I believe the planning board chair had asked Meehan to propose it as part of their development for the driving range property. But then that kind of stalled out and was temporarily stopped because of the bylaw issue, and people were so against the roundabout, they removed that from their subsequent proposals. And I think MassDOT's position was, if you want to pay for it, do whatever you want, but we're not paying extra
I
for a
don't think it
roundabout.
was ever in the original plan though.
Oh, it was one of the things Menard presented, but it's been pulled.
Yeah, it was.
They are putting a traffic light at that intersection through
Right.
that development. That was not presented at the hearing, that's happened. But
So
I
the-
still haven't seen the final plans for
The
this.
last light prior to hitting this intersection here is located where?
So again, I would love to see a final plan set. I believe there's gonna be a traffic light at Hartford Ave West, that's new.
Yeah.
A traffic light at Millville Road, which was not part of the plans, but is now because of this development. And then I believe the traffic light is gonna be at the intersection of Hastings and Maple, or both I don't know if they're doing one at Washington Emerson as well. I've heard a bunch of different things, and again, I have not seen those complete plans, and it's just this stuff right now. Let me look and see if it's in the Concom stuff. And then North Ave has a light that's keeping the light.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping for additional traffic lights on this project, the road, because I think it will slow the traffic at the intersection. And because what happens, I mean, from living right there, what happens is that folks see that the light is green or turning yellow, and they accelerate at a very high rate to try to get through the intersection. And the worst offenders are the trucks, the large vehicle carriers from the Ford dealership and other like materials and supplies delivery companies that have, heavy goods. And those trucks are barreling through that intersection at a really high speed, and it's quite dangerous. I mean, I always feel for people that I see walking down the road like with a dog.
But that's why we thought the roundabout was a bad idea, because good luck trying to cross anywhere near a roundabout to get to the grocery store or anything else. That was my take on it.
Yeah, I mean,
Way too dangerous.
we're so accustomed to roundabouts, like, every village has a million roundabouts in it, so
Yeah.
you get used to it. But I think the primary difference is that, like, villages in England are set up to be, there's no traffic through the center of a village. They would never have planned to put trucks routed through, like, small villages and communities. They route them around them. So here, for whatever reason, they decided to route traffic through the center of all these small villages, and and that's what we have. And I think with the bank development that's happening, or that they did the hearing for, that I attended and probably made an ass out of myself because I was really in a bad mood and I don't want another bank on the corner. With that increased traffic, I think it's going to be even more of an issue to control the speed of vehicles. So the more lights we have, the better, even though it's inconvenient for local residents.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'd rather deal with the inconvenience than the speed and the accidents and the lack of ability to walk in town anymore. So, I mean, I think unfortunately we've always been treated like a pass through town. So sidewalks for, whatever. But I think we might be able to blame our forefathers for setting it up the way it is set up, because they wanted traffic to come through Mendon. So they developed the Hartford Turnpike in hopes of building the community and its traffic, and it's done a good job. Now we're in trouble.
With these events, we don't really have like a downtown where you would do like an event or a parade, or like the only way to do it is to massively like divert and shut down traffic.
Sure, yeah.
It's kind of interesting, like we don't have, like other towns have like a downtown, we do a little bit, but it's also like the main thoroughfare.
Right, I wonder if the senior center, becomes a reality, if we could just think about the viability of having a center area.
Yeah.
It's a good plug for.
Well, so we should, I think we should, I mean, think about Civil War and all that, but at a minimum, send some sort of a letter to the select board saying, you know, this is our position, whatever that is, or if there's information. What I was trying to suggest, what I prefer to do is if there needs to be a discussion, I'd like to do it in one of our meetings and not have to go to one of their 8-hour marathon meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let this be its own separate thing, that they can come to us, because I think it's, oh, hey, a historic matter.
Finally made it to traffic, so.
All right, so I don't know, and it's certainly something that we should kind of hang out there, is that, well, what's happening to the house on the corner?
Nothing, private property, nothing's touching it.
All right, so.
So Patrice discovered, we own that triangle, it was given to the town a long time ago.
Right.
So the only thing that's happening is they're getting rid of that cut through. Where that cut through is gonna be, here, I can show this again, is gonna be the new island, if that makes sense. It's, I don't know if you can see it.
That's a cute little house.
It is.
Buffer.
Somebody, oh, maybe it was you that suggested that,
I wanna buy that.
no, like
A
commercial,
little house.
turn that into like,
I would make it like a
Small.
yoga studio or
Yeah.
a bakery or, you know, something that you could walk to it.
I feel like that's a zoning, what, I don't, that might be in the commercial zone there. That
Whatever,
house,
it's
right?
in, I think it's in the commercial
Within 200
district,
feet.
I think that runs
Yeah,
through there, and it's still in a restorable condition, you know.
I think it's
It
vacant.
is.
Although now I'm working on, I don't want to be on recording.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you later. No, but I'm so glad that they are aware of the monuments now, because when I initially called them, they seemed they weren't on the drawings, with indicators and markings and coordinates, and they didn't seem to know anything when I first, this was a few months ago, so.
But she mentioned, when I watched that 10-minute clip, I think whoever was there, maybe it was the guy, he did mention something about a
I
historic
made a
marker,
big deal about it.
but maybe it's.
It's so hard to get back and forth.
Oh, you just dial in. You just dial in.
We are allowed to have alternate members.
Alternates, like,
Right.
put on a different hat.
Like,
You know, we really need strong voices in this community. Wow, let's protect what's left.
Yeah, it's shrinking.
It is.
The
So,
house is in the commercial zone fully, but of course, no water, no sewer, probably has a failed title, failed cesspool.
probably, yeah.
Yeah, those are all, you can handle it. There's ways of doing it.
Exactly.
In the Cape, they just put raised tanks and you get a permit to pump them out. So,
Yeah,
You can do a
that
tight
would
tank, it's
be,
just
that would be a tight tank spot.
not cost
Thinking
effective.
about that for the rec response, so. Well, yeah, really push those agendas through. That would be great.
And there
So
is,
I was gonna mention, Dan, that the Historical Society owns 15 and 17. The problem is 17 is very close to
look at the map.
Willowbrook.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would just leave it unless there's something wrong with it. I mean, they're gonna rebuild it, they'll reset it, they'll fix that wall that's collapsed. I'd like to replant the top without grass, so we don't have to trim it, make it easier to maintain. I mean, they'll definitely fix it up big time.
What do you guys think?
But it sounds like they'll pretty much move it.
Leave it.
I'm just looking at the 15 and 17 on the map, if that would make more sense, or.
Across the street. The Historical Society.
oh, well, yeah.
Property.
or
Is that
near-
just not?
End up with a yard full of monuments.
The only issue,
Another island.
like,
Monuments on paper and a yard full of monuments.
Yeah, have a monument graveyard.
here, let me screen share your property.
Goes.
The only issue is if you, for at some point decided to sell that property in the future. I mean, it's like over here where your garage is, this is pretty flat, and down, and this is probably wet here. I don't think you'd want it in your, front yard.
What are we gonna do with that sign down there?
Or we could do it on the opposite side. There's a gas line, but
Over where?
on the
Further?
left side of the front of the house.
Oh, way over.
Yeah, between the parsonage.
And the,
So is there room to have it? It looked like there was a tiny, the pink area was.
yeah, let me pull up the plans again. So
I
it's,
think they're eliminating all of that.
yeah, here,
Eliminating that road.
hang on, I close it. It's hard to see here. If you zoom way in, so you see this line, that's the driveway, this gap.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing is purple. I believe it's what's gonna remain as an island.
Oh, that curved line, is that where the?
Oh, this,
the
yeah,
road
this curved
goes?
line.
Oh, okay.
So this is the monument right here as it sits. So we just have to get moved back 20 feet. And we'll just be on a much smaller parcel.
Yeah, it wouldn't have any anchoring and just be sitting there, yeah.
Yeah, it's like four walls. They look like they've got some sort of like, I don't know, like poured lead that was supposed to hold them together.
Yeah, that's
And
generally,
it started to
yeah, they would
come apart.
put it and then they do molten lead around it to keep it stable.
Bruce Clifton talked to me once, we were gonna talk about trying to reset it, but then we let the state do the.
Well, it's on their nickel.
Do it.
Right.
I mean, and this one, I know our highway did it, but when they redid the curbing and we seeded it, it came back and it's actually grass. So I think if this has actual proper curbing, you won't have the salt damage that we were dealing with before.
Be nice.
So I guess I'd like to see like a plan of like what it's gonna be, but maybe they don't have that yet.
A visual plan.
You should have a three-dimensional plan
They
Or
should.
tell them what we
for
want.
the major intersection
With-
reportioning.
There was a plan that showed like the sidewalks in green and way
They
before.
had that in
That's
the
what I want is like
presentation.
the update of that, because so much has changed.
Mm,
And that's what we don't seem to get, because I told them that they need to make a website for this.
yeah,
Because so many residents have questions and we
Yeah.
need to put it all
I
up
think
there.
they're adverse to that.
I think it's just,
Yeah.
I think you could see the monument, does it have names on it and things like that? I mean, it's kind of on an island.
It's a memorial,
Really, right?
well, like a conceptual drawing showing, the sidewalks and what they're gonna do, where all the lights are gonna go. Yes, I'll ask Jeremy, because that keeps
Wait, are they adding lights?
traffic lights.
Oh, traffic lights, I was
Yeah.
like, oh no.
I don't think, no, I don't think we're
They
getting any.
have a light pollution issue.
Yeah, no kidding.
Shirley tried to look into that once, we just have to, don't we have money to do something in the downtown about lights? Why is this ringing a bell? So many, like 5 fixtures or something, was it, oh,
God, that's a good question.
Like to conform them to town standards.
no, there was something like we had a grant or something that would pay for 5 fixtures, or maybe it was something we could apply for, I had this vague memory of this, like proper historic street lighting.
Has
No.
any of that been included in this?
I have no memory of when
Although I suppose they don't really see the need where it's Route 16, but it is in a historic district.
Yeah, Route 16, but maybe along this
Right, so I was thinking
corridor.
right here.
Where you have the sodium lights that are really
Yeah.
unattractive and you could switch them out
Yeah.
for some attractive lights.
I do know, and I, again, it's another question for Jeremy once we get more caught up on things. At some point, I know Grid wanted to meet with the town to talk about the streetlights and
Oh,
conversions to LEDs and how all that would work.
no, so that we can all be blind at night.
But I think as part of that, we can have an opportunity to maybe change out these ones on North, or on
We
the
should-
center of town for something that's more in keeping
Yeah,
with
that's
historic.
something you should push back for and then go over to somewhere like Holliston or
Yeah,
take Medford and take pictures of what they've done
Right.
historically and say, we want you to conform to this standard.
Yeah.
I think they have options.
It's like
Many of these towns, as you drive to 16, have obviously implemented, have pushed back on, the industrial look.
Yeah.
Have gotten really nice things into the bargain. So we should do that.
I think they have options, but I
So, and I think Hopkinton did the same.
Yes,
Um,
Hopkins can put in
In
some lovely
Midway,
lighting.
I don't know what Oxbridge did, unless they already had theirs.
because, it's this and then North Ave has streetlights going up, and they're just those basic things. And especially, if we're looking at North Ave for a future historic district, it'd be nice to have something a little nicer than.
Right,
Yeah, if people can visualize that it's going to, if you sort of prime them by creating the visual message, then they're like, oh, it already is like that, why would we not continue?
Right.
But if it looks like an industrial park, they're like, oh, just bring on the trucks, you know?
The lighting at the senior center has some historic character, doesn't it? In the proposal,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be more, it's not gonna be a modern.
Right.
Keeping the feel of, I mean, you saw the picture,
yeah, so I think that's great.
Yeah.
If we can,
that'll fit right in.
maybe show that too.
I mean, I
That's
know
why I
it's-
say this is,
This is what we want.
Yeah.
Exactly.
then the design standards that we put forth for the affordable housing. I mean, those are great design standards. Do you guys have those?
No.
They're on the planning board site.
Oh, they are,
Oh.
they are.
Well, there was some sort of a program about facades for districts or something that came, I think Upton is coordinating, it had something to do with the post-COVID money or some program, and I don't know what was going on with it. It was like a grant program, I think, for businesses. Oh, let me look it up.
Is it ARPA money or?
It was some sort of a program that came out of surveys that they did, and Jack Hunter maybe knows.
I know Oxbridge did a design to, somebody work on a good proposal on how to, enhance their downtown area. It was really, the buildings were beautiful, and it didn't require a lot of, financial investment. It was just changing the use of the space. So like they have a big paved area that goes into a parking lot, and it's between, where the Mendon Street Cafe is.
Yes.
Okay, so that little alleyway there.
Yeah.
The proposal is to do seating out there. And it's covered and it's, it's really quite nice, and you're right by the Mugford River, and,
Yeah.
it's just, there's so much potential there.
Yeah.
You have the right vision.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I think also if it's presented to people that if you're in this town and they have beautified the town, your property values are going to escalate. And if the town is seen as a truck stop, your property values are going to devalue. So if it's put to folks in a way that's like, this benefits you, this makes you more like a Millis or a Holliston and less like, something else.
It's funny, it's been a really hard sell, getting people to see this.
They have to see how
community
their equity.
as a cozy and comfortable, place to live and be, and, I think, using some of these buildings now and enhancement over here at the town hall and, trying to put that to good use, do a concert in the back and invite food trucks and do it, once a month and, trying to get people to use the space that we have, and really, work it up, so that there is a central, feeling of community here. On the road.
Yeah.
It seems such a shame that on the corner out there that they're gonna put that phone calls all the time. But that they're gonna put that bank and shopping center stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's not, if that was, like I thought about it and I thought, if that was a wonderful opportunity to purchase a lot, like if the town had purchased a lot. And that way you could create a hub. You could make it the farm market and the blah, blah, blah. And, you could do a lot of things in that field. You could landscape it a little bit,
Right,
zhuzh up the stone walls and create a town center that's like a town green.
right, so that on the opposite side, so that square parcel is something that we've never been able to access, and it's changed hands several times. However, the rest of that land in that field belongs to the town.
Yeah, but unfortunately, if you have a shopping center on the corner, there'll just be people throw trash in there. It'll just become,
Well,
and you have
the senior
pavement.
center goes in there.
The senior center would be a different thing, because that's like a hub. For
It is, and then we've got all
It's
that
gonna be a
people
community center,
lands.
actually, so that's.
landscaping, the trails, I'm assuming they closed on the part, or they bought the development rights from the vendor. So you
That
can,
thing happened, yeah.
yeah, so that you could connect walking trails, that would create, the senior center would be like a start point and
Yeah.
create like a little, cute little
We actually had a
village,
meeting
village center.
with somebody that
But we
designed
would put
those.
in another bank, which, why do we need another bank? Banks, there's empty banks everywhere. And an unknown shopping center that they don't wanna declare use of.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know what it'll be, but we promise you, it'll be great, you know, and that the town will absolutely, you know, approve the use, but it could be, they're like, it could just be a dry cleans. And, you know, it's going to be something like another fast food joint or whatever, they can maximize their dollar
I don't
value.
know, what are you gonna put? It's not that big.
It's not a good
It's not
idea.
that big of a piece of land, I don't know what he thinks he's gonna do with it.
I mean, that's a tricky parcel.
Well, I went to the meeting, what they think they're going to do with it is put a bank with they
It's gonna be
said,
Dean Bank, I heard that.
yeah, which we don't need a Dean Bank, you know, which is absurd. And they're saying they're not putting they don't have the plans in the blueprints for a drive-through, but of course they're going to put a drive-through, which is the bane of my existence, that Charles River drive-through, which is on par with my windows. But then behind it is a paved zone with quite a lot of parking and unknown retail space. They aren't saying, they don't have tenants for it. They don't have, they haven't identified any tenants and they won't declare the usage. So it could be
T-Mobile.
it could just be junk,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, I was trying to think of like what types of businesses do you think will pay for brand new construction? It's all going to be chain business because that's quite a hefty lift with the dollar amount they're going to need to spend.
You have to assume that
No,
they have,
And it-
like, somebody's financing this, they're not building
Well,
it. from scratch.
it's probably an asset for Dean
Yeah.
Bank. It's really like so.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that Hood Plaza building is aging, so I think, you know, there's interest in moving into a nice new space.
Oh, plus they want the drive-through.
Which would be lovely if they demoed Hood Plaza and put up a new plaza instead of using green space, you know, yeah.
Should have bought it.
Yeah.
David Lowell was on the right path, we should have bought it. We had an opportunity to buy all that back and then something.
That was a huge mistake.
I think that was when David, one of the times he first got involved, trying to bring that forward.
left, you bought everything else, you own everything else.
When it could be
yeah,
recognized,
the big area with all the steel buildings on the corner of Emerson and, look at the potential for
If it was-
growth in there.
If it would be demoed out and then like reconstructed, there are so many things you could do. You could do a mixed use, you could do some very,
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And not only do you just use the footprint, but you go opposite.
you could do townhouses with a small, like a little bit of shopping, so people could walk around and then like a green in the middle. You could make it really adorable, but you have to have the vision to do it.
Yeah,
those hangars are historic though.
that one hangar, but
It's a
see,
hang-on.
that should be the airport.
We can move that.
Yeah,
We can take a hand right up.
they got, it. So I feel like that's a great, you know, they have horrible
Put it in the
PFAS.
historical, put it in historical.
Through the roof.
Oh no, are they leaching PFAS in the water?
Well, we're thinking,
Yeah.
this,
You have a creek.
they probably used it for training in the 40s when that was the airfield. They're getting like 90 is the number.
Because it's the biosuppression system that
So,
contains
it's in
the
the foam.
PFAS, and they generally don't switch it out. If it's in place, then
You're right.
you have to remediate the entire thing and put it in a new system, and if you're not operating on a profit, then
These all so
Right.
it's expensive remediation.
These buildings down here,
Where?
the Emerson, like the White
The
Plaza,
right club,
all
that
that.
solar?
they have solar on the roof, all these
Oh my
buildings.
God.
I never go down there. I think the last time I went was when they had the car show.
Have you ever been to Dover, New Hampshire? Yes, I know.
It's very
I think
pretty.
so.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But this is what they did. This is something that we brought in front of the planning board 10+ years ago. Form-based, form-based planning, form-based function. Anyways, very similar to what they did in Dover, which is where they put all of the retail off the back and they put connecting drive. So that you're not on the main road, which we see now more and more these days, which could be done right up there on, Hasty Street, you know. It's just, why can't we play properly?
Who owns that property? The White Stone?
Yeah, whoever that,
But I mean, you could interconnect
Yeah.
a bunch of things going, so
It'd be really charming.
yeah.
I mean, you could offer a town grant for redevelopment, but that means it's money,
Yeah,
But it would also improve that everyone's property values would go up.
Yeah.
So, and then your taxes go up, so.
but this, I don't know, this
and
town
really
really struggles with
How
that
much land we have left
idea.
where they're building the storage units, maybe, because it's all already assaulting us when they're still building. These businesses that are, in that plaza can, work their way out onto other parcels.
But there's some really nice things back there that I think, put the commercial where it's supposed to be.
What a concept.
Instead of meet residential developments on top of each other. That's the one thing I don't like, the Blue Water and the Cape Road is like, all you had to do was not build that one house on Talbot Farm and have a buffer. And it would have solved so many problems.
Yeah.
But you built these, they're like right on top of what was supposed to be future commercial property. Doesn't make any sense.
Bad planning, no vision, unfortunately. But we can be the vision. We can lead the horses to water, right?
Well, I don't know what, I haven't been, at that meeting that zoning group, I think is hopefully looking at this with CMRPC, who I think is legit and has a lot of, suggestions from how other towns are doing things, so I don't know what's coming out of that. But,
I think it'd be really cool to hire somebody to do conceptual drawings of what that particular property, could potentially be in the future, let's look at.
I feel like that's something this town has always struggled with, though, the idea that, the idea that we would buy a property like that and then redevelop it, and, the town shouldn't be in real estate. That's
Well,
what you get.
but
All
I
towns
think,
are in real estate.
But that's our only way to control the future of it, is figure it out and then build it what we want and then sell it off again.
yeah.
Or incentivize somebody to do what we want, not what they want. I don't know.
Interesting.
We'll see. I mean, if anything comes of some of these housing projects, I think that'll be the first step to prove that works, what they're doing on the Paddock property and the other Paddock property.
Yeah,
At least show like here's a way that can be done.
right. Absolutely. I derailed us. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Again.
Oh, thank you. See how abused I am here, and we're right.
I could listen to you talk all night, I really could. All the information is sitting right there.
So I think the other stuff on the agenda, just the records and project.
Yeah.
So
Any news from Jeremy?
Jeremy.
Yeah.
What are we in Jeremy?
So I reached out to Alina,
Oh,
and we were gonna talk about turning that into the fire and police.
I haven't heard anything about that. I'm sorry, it took me, what are we,
Yeah,
I was just saying, so the grant paperwork is done, we're gonna send that in, file the paperwork, get our money back. Brennan reached out, so we should sit down with him and come up with a scope of work and ask him all those questions that CPA brought, and then I think, like the gutters and all that.
Yeah.
That did come up to Jeremy, they're looking at reports of accounts, so I think that's the account for the gutters that was in there.
there was
It was like 18,000 or something like that.
concrete slab in the back, which is now broken and could potentially lead to some water seepage behind that fieldstone wall. I don't know if we just slap some concrete in there because it is just concrete.
Yeah, we have to look at it.
Let's take a look at
The
it.
basement is, I think we're stable right now, we just need to figure out
Yeah.
the phase of this project.
And do we have a dehumidifier? Well, that
Yeah.
has to, we have to purchase that.
I was looking into that the other week and then things
It's
came
just a
up. But
record through, full record through.
we should, I mean, I think from historic, so we can just spend $300 and buy a dehumidifier. That's
Yeah,
peanuts. I'm still trying to connect with this HVAC company to get them to come out and give us a proposal.
Yeah, God, that needs to be cleaned before
but then-
anybody goes in there.
Everything kept hitting the fan with the water department, so I have stepped back from any of that at the moment.
So are you trying to heat and cool that space?
Well, it has a system in there, but based on the condition of that building, it needs to be decontaminated.
Oh, what is it contaminated?
Oh, it's
with?
probably full of mold and dust and
Oh, you mean like black mold type?
everything that was in there. The basement was a swamp. Yeah, look at the old pictures. The basement was a swamp.
Yeah, if it's like my basement.
Yeah.
I'm just-
Yeah, probably same exact, fieldstone, dirt floor.
But we can strongly suggest JJB.
So I think, but yeah, so you talked to Alina?
I did talk to Lena, she said she was gonna hook us up with Brendan, with Jeremy.
Yeah,
So we could talk about, first we need to figure out what is the cost, monthly cost of heating or cooling.
right, which that's easy enough,
And what are we using for electricity for that building?
which I don't need Jeremy, but,
Okay, all right,
sorry, that's what I wanna do with these buildings. I wanna look into the record room, I think we can do it. I wanna set up a Wi-Fi from this building and get like a smart thermostat there and stuff,
that would be great.
so we can like keep an eye on things. The historic's a little trickier, cause I think it might be too far away right now.
Yeah,
But, we did it at Grover Field, I'm paying $5 a month for a,
he's gonna do it for her. Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, across the street practically.
little Wi-Fi.
Or J-Lo.
Wait, is it what is the
Internet access.
museum building, is it, what is it, you're trying to run Wi-Fi?
I want it so that, like the record room, I wanna put like a smart thermostat. So that way, when something goes wrong, we know about it, as opposed to somebody going there once a month and saying, oh gee.
So,
the battery's
a question, just out of curiosity, so it looks like it has existing ductwork, like you've put ductwork in here.
That was all that was in there, yeah.
Okay.
So basically what we need is we have to have that whole system cleaned out because it's probably full of mold.
Yeah.
It was, as you could see, a swamp down there. And then with all the dust, actually, we really have to go down there and just run a shop vac and clean up all the residue from.
Yeah.
Did you
Of course,
have,
it's easier to do the floor, I mean, might as
this
well
shows
fix
the
the floor.
defects of iron here.
Yeah, there is,
That was a contract, wasn't it?
yeah,
It doesn't work, that's
So it just, I would highly recommend just putting a direct wire dehumidifier in, like an April air, and then put a condensate pump into it, there's some.
Yeah, so there's a new pump in the basement, so that's what we need to do that, and there's a drain off the
Yeah, just-
HVAC that needs to be
Just
pumped
drain
in.
it straight into your
Right.
sump that's, you've already
Yeah.
spent the money to put in.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if that's something we should approve formally in terms of spending, like if we're okay spending up to like $500 or $600.
yeah, why don't we do that, because,
I'm just going real quick.
Does this building have gutters?
gosh,
Gotta get done.
and they're not in the best of shape.
It might be, I don't know what the grant looks like, but it might be worth it to gutter the building and then wick the water around so it doesn't fall into the foundation. Or if you're gonna do waterproofing, like the positive side where you're excavating out the building and adding that.
Yeah,
Yeah, at this point, so what happened now, we're basically done, when it's all done, we're gonna have a surplus of like $20,000.
Put
Or
the
something like
gutters in.
So that's money that we can use, plus there's a separate account for the gutters.
Yeah.
To finish some of these things that we couldn't do under the time constraints of the grant, because the funding was approved for this building.
Did you order new storms for it, like as part of your grant?
As part of the grant, they basically dug out the basement, replaced all the supports, restructured the floor, did a little bit of repointing,
Yeah, I saw a report.
yeah, and unfortunately, somebody had done
I
something.
was like, I just
know.
hit a nerve, that's what was my major in undergraduate, was historic masonry, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing this building? These bricks are the same as my bricks.
Yeah.
Like, they were, I guess, my house was this, and then when it exploded after they had the bakehouse fire, And I was like, what do you do? I know these bricks intimately, what are you doing with them?
Somebody repointed that with like concrete or something.
Oh, yeah, I saw the pointing mix and I just,
That's why
yeah.
it's so
just-
wide
just
and
kind of
ugly
went
in
through the
spots.
roof,
It's
I sent a
unfortunately.
bunch of mean emails really quickly.
I mean, to be fair, we should not have.
And also, the poor fellow working it was using an angle grinder with no eye protection, no mask, not even a dust mask. The silicosis of the lungs and when you're doing a municipal project, you're subject to OSHA rules.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, no.
Or even just protect yourself.
Yeah, it's just,
That would
don't you
be
care about your workers? Like, give them some eyeglasses and a dust mask. Ouchie. Anyway, sorry, that's my little spiel.
But yeah, I think with the gutters and we fit where the gutters tie into.
Yeah, you gotta wick the water away from the foundation, it's going
Well,
right
that's what
back
they did,
in.
so there's a sump pump and it goes out into the storm system.
You can link your gutters right into the
Right.
storm system and get the water away from the
Right.
building.
So all
That's
of those
what needs to
properties
happen.
have water issues, all
The
of
water
the
table's
bills
very
are-
high.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do in mine.
I bet you
Yes,
do,
I
bet you do.
certainly do. I'm redesigning the sump system right now.
We are hoping that with the Route 16, they're going to address stormwater management in a much.
I asked that directly and I got well, that's not in the scope of what, I got a lot of nothing back. Yeah.
They did go to Concom for this project. I know
Yeah,
that.
I was really unhappy with what they had to say about stormwater management because it didn't seem to be managed at all. So I think it would be really interesting when they present again to say, can we see your stormwater management plan? The drawings, the shop drawings for it, and where does it link and where does it go and where are you discharging?
We should ask, my understanding is that's already been done and approved by
Right.
Concom, so.
So it'd be
the plan
really
should-
nice to see it,
Forget exact, something I don't know if it was a hearing or just a meeting, I remember Isabel saying it. But I don't know, yeah, so I don't know if it's finished or if it was like.
Keep quiet.
Because they're not even extending the sidewalk, we asked about that too, like they
No,
should
that
finish
was,
out that.
that was the thing that I got in, with them, I was thinking, you're not doing anything for pedestrians.
90% of the way there.
Within all these pedestrian deaths recently, you'd think that they would make that a priority.
Crazy stuff.
This looks just like my basement.
Oh, no.
Oh, well.
The house next door to the records room, they just have a gutter right down the middle, and it's stone.
Well, that's actually, it actually works better than some of these modern systems. If your sump pump fails, if the power goes out and your sump pump fails, you're really in your trouble. But if you've created a gravity-based system, you're never gonna get rid of water, you have to channel it,
Right.
so that's what I'm gonna do basically in my house, I'm gonna put weak channels in and a gravity-based drain into a cistern. Of course, I have to draw it and get it approved, I don't know what, but but because I know, because the power goes out frequently. When you have the big storm, the power goes down and that means your sump is off.
Mhm.
So is this sump on a battery backup?
Yes.
Yay.
I went into a house in Oxbridge and the entire floor in the basement was stone. And it didn't smell wet, and I'm like, this is brilliant. What have we learned here?
When you make an impermeable surface, it really makes it difficult. Water has nowhere to go.
Yeah. I think that house was 1700s.
You know what, we still have to follow too, is the land swap here with this property. I better make sure, it might be too late for November, but.
I did get a question from the homeowner about the returns at 15, returns at 15 Main. I was supposed to ask the
Returns?
district, yeah, on the building. So they're just rebuilding it and just wanted to make sure they didn't need to go through a process.
What are returns?
They're like a decorative piece on the
What's 15 Main?
porch.
What is that Bucky? No.
So,
No, it's rich.
Which 15? So the record was 13.
Yeah, 15 is.
Am I going the wrong direction or I am?
Blue house.
Okay. I'm like, what? I'm losing one. I mean, and the way it's written is and was it an existing thing that's being repaired?
Yeah. They're just doing it over again with.
Yeah, I mean, so what happened last time, he sent in the application, so I felt like we had a duty to respond to it.
Okay.
If he believes that what he's doing is repair, he's welcome to proceed, but then if the district feels that it's not repair, they are welcome to pursue violations of the bylaw. I mean, it seems like this homeowner is keenly aware of, historic preservation and is not just going crazy. But, well, like,
Jake will chase them down.
yeah, I think, so you're allowed to do repair as long as you're basically replacing it with the exact same thing, you're not making it different. I think technically you really should be using the same material, but I think we've been kind of loose with that.
I believe that's the intent.
Like everything we discussed the last meeting, those were all basically repairs, but it's worth, then you have a certificate of non-applicability. So now you've documented it, you follow the process.
Right,
right. Whether something is minuscule as a piece of, trim or something is different.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it.
And speaking of that, 24 Maple Street, she did apply for a building permit, just so you're aware. The addition, Katie,
Oh, okay, all
so
right.
I don't know when they're actually gonna start work, but they did finally apply for a building permit. So that will move along. And there's been nothing else within, I know we didn't call it district order, there's been nothing else within the district. If something comes along, we'll see, it seems to kind of come in waves.
So were you guys able to photograph all of North Ave?
I did. Well, Dick took me around and we.
Lucky girl.
I learned so much that day. I know the Davenport's on the whole road.
Isn't that awesome?
He showed me that little secret cemetery. Oh my God.
That's sweet.
Oh.
Yeah. Hey, it must take a long time trying to get that back into shape. If you can even call it in shape.
We still don't know who fixed that fence post.
No, we don't.
Somebody, the granite post cracked, and then one day we show up and there's like a custom welded like metal sleeve that someone had built to like support it. Absolutely no idea who did it.
Oh, no.
And it's wonderful, like, cause it was like a death trap, this thing's gonna fall over and crush somebody.
Someone fixed it.
So somebody did something.
Maybe you can give us some advice on the Bicknell Cemetery wall, because that
Oh,
is.
is that the one that's along?
Yeah.
Hartford Ave.
Yeah, we're just waiting for those 15-foot granite pieces to just.
Kevin Baker, that's who I go to, that's not, he's a wizard, Kevin Baker.
See,
If you have somebody.
and we did appropriate funds.
We have money, and Jeremy asked about that. We should
on it.
try and follow up on that project and see if we can.
Baker.
Kevin Baker is the go-to for dry stone walling and repairs of that.
I mean, we'll need to get
Not-
quotes, but we got the Braza quote, we probably want to re-up it.
Yeah, do we want to maybe get a quote from Kevin Baker?
Absolutely, I think that's been our problem. is we
I'm
can't
sure
find
there's
anybody who
local
wants to do it.
folks too, but it's like one of these things where
We've been
you
finding
have to have somebody who,
nobody
this is
wants
what
to
they
touch it.
do, like the historic stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and they know big stone and they know field stone and they do, yeah. I'll call and see what he's doing, and sometimes he has apprentices too that are eager to take on the work from him.
Yeah.
And I have a guy who, he's based in Pennsylvania, but he travels all over and he does stone, he's a traveling mason, who's also like got historic certification.
Let's see how that we.
Oh, that's
Wow.
This has been we just haven't, we had one, Braza gave us a quote. I'm not 100%, I don't know if they really wanted to do it or they, it was a little bit out of the
They
issue.
wanna just pull it all out with a, excavator.
I think what we're looking to do is like reset it, stabilize it, and same as the earlier discussion, all the traffic has caused it to destabilize.
Vibration is just destroying these, it's the big chunks, we're looking at, my house shakes.
I've talked to other people, like Eric Peterson, who was a longtime local, he basically said, that wall scares the crap out of me, I wouldn't go anywhere near it. It's big 20-foot hunks of granite.
It has to be taken apart and put back together.
Right.
So it's, it's gonna be costly.
You know, we have money, we just need somebody that knows what they're doing. So if you, that would be amazing, somebody that has experience with this.
Well, I'll poke around and find one.
I think so. And we appropriated 25,000, which is a quarter that we got from Fries.
Yeah,
And that
that's
was,
probably not, it's gonna be a lot more than that. So, like, to make it safe and stable.
yeah.
Safety is, it's too close to the road for it to be unsafe.
Well, and it wouldn't be, you know, if we have to go back to town meeting and say, listen, you know, we finally secured some quotes and it turns out it's more expensive, it's, you know, CPA money.
Yeah. And
It's not the end of the
a
world.
lot of it is the drainage behind, you know,
It
because,
needs to have field drain behind it, yeah.
because water, you know, puddles into the graves that have kind of sunken in winter, and, you know, just freezes over and then it just doesn't drain off the property. Just tries to.
Probably need some sort of French drain system that preemptive to the wall, you have a wall and then a drain system
Yeah.
in front of it that's wicking the water down the hill,
Yeah.
letting it percolate.
And then, actually, same with Old Town, if you have any
Look, as long
suggestions
as
on
no
this
dead
wall.
bodies come floating up.
No, you wouldn't even know.
That part, yeah.
They'd just be sort of grey lumps. Nothing left.
Oh,
Drive right past it in the
We
morning.
have to figure out that old cemetery too, that stone wall. And I don't know what to do with that.
We could ask for, you know, that's the thing is if you bring one person in to do one and you can get a second grant or allocation to do the other, they might, it's a bigger job for them, so they're more interested in it.
Yeah.
It's more cash.
Yeah, well, if we had somebody, because I think this one, and I'd be afraid to really touch it, everything's hanging on by a thread. Where those two sections have fallen, I know for Old Town, the actual
Yeah,
stone
you know
wall.
what, that one doesn't bother me, or doesn't concern me as much as,
It's like a killing,
the
but just
Daniels.
Right.
Because your Daniels
Where's
granite
Daniels?
steps are sinking backwards,
Which road is that one on Asylum
the park.
Park?
And that's got an enormous one.
That one's tricky though, because I don't know who owns it. So whether we can legally invest that amount of money into it, who the heck knows? Well, it's
After
mystery.
75 years, isn't it?
Everybody says that, nobody's ever been able to provide me a citation that actually shows that.
See if I can-
I know Jane has said it too. The one thing we found is there was something in the law that says the town can take over an abandoned cemetery. And when we asked at the time, it was Brandon Moss, he said there was no precedent, no case law on it. But they're thinking it was more about like mowing and things.
Yeah,
But I don't know, I mean, that's part of this much bigger project to try and compile all this information and find out what we know and do the deed search and all the surrounding properties.
yeah, so I'm
Find out,
not
does this exist?
100% sure we have all the deeds on all
Yeah.
the cemeteries now.
I should sit down with you and get it,
Yeah.
and then I can put it on this website.
Janice had it, and she was gonna forward it to me, so. And then I asked her if she would be interested in being part of the cemetery team, and she's not sure.
Anyway, this doesn't even, this doesn't, so, but this, I wonder if this one too, like, you just I mean, these are a little newer, but I don't know how you like pull these steps and reset them.
So Hazel, would you like us to,
don't know.
just, vote to appoint you?
I've been on a commission, I'm kind of a purist and kind of a grump, so you should know that in advance. Like when I yelled at appointing people.
You know what, we need, you know,
Yeah.
all I could think of was, why didn't she join the commission? This would have been great, that we would have avoided all this.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to, but if you get annoyed with me, you need to tell me, back off, because I'll get real nutty.
See that?
No.
No.
Like, I just like having, you know, following like good best practices and OSHA standards and like, you know, that's what I do at work, so I'm kind of, you know.
I love it.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want things to be done right?
Right, I know.
Well, and you don't want anything to get hurt either, and then everybody says, oh, historic buildings are dangerous, you just need to knock them down because someone got hurt because they weren't following safety protocols, and that's pretty,
That's crazy.
that happens, you know?
Really?
Yeah. People don't follow the safety protocols and they get exposure to lead or asbestos or silicosis from the, or the mason's dust. And then they're like, oh, these old buildings, we just needed to get rid of them, they're so dangerous, and I don't know.
But we don't think like that here at the historical commission.
We hear it a lot, but we're not buying it.
But I think there's a huge movement right now, and this might be helpful for grants, is like the embodied carbon movement, which is basically, I don't know if you're familiar, like, if it's already been built.
Right.
The timber's been hauled, it's been cut, the bricks have been fired, it's already all the carbon that you used, all the fossil fuels or pre-fossil fuel, it's all embodied in the structure. So when you destroy a structure and you put junk in the landfill and then start a process of reconstruction, it's waste. And it's not, you're just wasting a whole bunch of fossil fuels to try to, and it's not sustainable. So there's a whole movement, to preserve all the structures that are embodied carbon. It's already been captured and it's already been spent, so.
They go all the way over.
I absolutely, and, of course, Jane Lowell will, remind all of us that those materials that we're destroying and sending to landfill are so much better.
Well, yeah, if you look at
We're
the
working with today.
2x4s now that aren't even 2x4, and you'll see 3 or 4 rings, but an old one you could see 50, and it's so much harder and stronger. I think there's an economic piece of just like trashing things and new, but it's not good for the environment or the community.
No, absolutely.
And I think it's a bad message to our children who are in the elementary school to see like their history being knocked down.
Yeah. So.
And a bank built on their green space, like, because they look out on that field from the elementary school. You can imagine if you're sitting at a kid and you're sitting at the window and you look out on the green field. That's what it's like, the healthier, it's healthier for children.
Right, so all you need to do is write a letter.
Okay.
You would be interested.
Okay.
Letter of interest.
Letter of interest. Okay.
We will scoop you right up. We usually lock the door, so you can't have one.
Okay.
Can't quit, lock the door.
This one has 2 vacancies. And then the district commission, I think, has 1, 2, 3, 4. The district commission, I think, is full.
What does the district commission do
2, 3,
exactly?
4, 5, 6,
I'm
7.
not
So
familiar with that.
basically, anything within the historic district, any work has to have a hearing. And so the district commission holds those hearings. In this, we've tried to merge them so they share almost all the same people. And we're just having joint meetings because it ended up being the same people anyway. But basically, any specific work in the district goes.
Like the fellow in the beginning of the meeting, who's going to have a hearing about.
Well, that's demolition delay.
Oh, that's a demolition.
That's actually, that's within the commission.
Okay.
Right now, it's just the center of town, Washington Street, and then a few others, and then I think we're working towards North Ave.
So, yeah, I looked at the map and.
Yeah, so it's like the downtown area, Hastings Street, Maple Street.
So Maple Street, the
Your
Taft
house is-
property that I looked at on Sunday, is that in the district? The greenhouse that's on Maple?
Every house on Maple Street is in the district.
Okay, the
And
one
that's
that abuts the
Yes.
seat or the public housing.
Yes, that is in the historic, it better be.
It was 1800, I looked at it on Sunday, it's, I'm trying to put together. Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know what's over there.
It's really cool, it's beautifully preserved.
Is that the one that
inside
just-
Because no one's been living in one side of it.
Went for sale again?
Really?
Yeah, so it has a-
30 years.
Which is wonderful because all the original horsehair plaster is in place.
Oh my gosh.
All the original fixtures are in place, which were probably put in the 20s or the turn of the century. There's a beautiful teardrop chandelier type fixture that's in the main parlor.
For sale.
Mhm.
Yeah, whose
Yeah.
house was this?
It's been in the Taft family.
It's the Taft,
forever.
it's a Taft home.
Which
And
house is it?
one of the family members is living on the right. So if you're at the post office and you walk down that road with it's a dead end with a walkway
yeah.
to the public housing, it's on the right. It's an acre and a half.
Oh.
It's mint green. It has, it's built in 1800. It's actually in phenomenal shape because no remodelers have touched it. There's original windows, original plaster. You know, there's been some modification, like the only thing I think they did was cover up a coal stove, you know, fire chimney holes, but other than that, it's in excellent condition. The floors are all plumb and original, you know, and the basement's dry, so.
The basement's dry.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, it's a great place, I love to like conserve it and.
Yeah, there's, I'm looking at these pictures, that's like,
The barn that used to be on there.
Oh, they used to be on. Sad, they knocked it down.
The town allowed it to get knocked down,
Oh, that's a shame.
and we owned it, which is really.
Oh, that really makes it bad.
Yeah, it was a real heartache for us. It was one of 3 demolitions. It just,
We're
all the
ridiculous.
beautiful houses on that corner, you know, where the bank is gonna be, the dotted house.
They should have purchased them. Well,
Well, they're,
I sat in on that little hearing for the bank and I kind of understand the mentality. You can see like there's some folks in town that are just like, oh, pave it, put it up, knock it down.
yeah,
Progress.
there's a lot of that.
Well, it's funny because it's short-term progress, like long-term, it devalues everyone's property.
Yeah.
So people look at the community and they say, well, it's not cute like such and such community. You know, we should go look at places down there, it's cuter, you know?
Yeah.
And then everyone's property values just kind of hover. I mean, everybody in Eastern Mass is gonna go up to a degree, but to people who live in the cute little towns that have done planning, you know, like, Dover and, you know, like these places that like they could have knocked down all the historic houses out
Right.
there. Like all the
Communities
towns
are
are
getting
there.
smarter about their historic resources. This town has been a really hard sell.
Do you think it's just the leadership of the town, or do you think it's the people who abide in the town, or who live, own property?
And then it's coupled with the fact that a lot of people are transients now.
Mhm.
So you come in, you raise your kids, you use
Yeah.
the school systems, and then you're out.
Mhm.
Sell the house and go. So people aren't rooted the way they used to be,
Mhm.
you know, and all of those rooted people are disappearing from our
They're aging out, yeah.
I'd argue that this town, like we spent like 50 years burying our heads in the sand, pretending that nothing will ever change, it's still 1950. And we fought every attempt at progress and modernization. But then in the meantime, we let all these developers come in and make millions and we have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
No industry, no infrastructure, no
You're a
nothing.
giant Ford dealership.
People, right, people, yeah.
So,
But like, you know, like, but like that's a great example, you know, he would have put sewer in. You know, you could have got him to invest in running sewer into Uxbridge, instead they fought, and now here he is, he's here anyway, he's put in 2 septic systems, and we have nothing to show for it.
yeah, that's,
We could
penny
have
wise and
tried, right, we could have tried to work with him.
well, I hope they don't. I'm hoping that this bank decides that it's not worth the time to build another brick and mortar bank. It's a crappy business model. They're just gonna be empty. How many times do you go to the bank?
Yeah.
The rumors I'm hearing is
Never.
I
that.
had to go to the bank.
Like twice ago.
On Saturday morning.
It's going to be.
I mean, I think I can count
So,
the times on one hand that I've been in the bank in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Everything's online, you know. No one wants to go into a brick and mortar bank. I don't know. It's too bad they won't just buy the Quickie Mart, demo that, put the little bank right there.
be nice.
100%.
Did you know Morgan Smith went and like fixed their roof for them? Cause he was so sick of looking at it.
The Quickie Mart.
He just went in there one day and he's like, listen, you buy the materials, I'll do the work, like, this looks like. With like the shingles falling off and
Oh,
everything.
that's so much. Are we still on recording?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
We, do we want to end the meeting?
Yes,
Do we-
Our next date is gonna be
December 9th.
December 9th, and we're gonna meet, no, we're not, we're gonna skip November.
I would, well, so at this point, I don't, unless something comes up with district, I don't think commission needs to meet, and honestly, there's very little time to meet. Like I said, I have one day I can meet on the 5th, and then not meet again until the 25th.
Maybe November, early November-ish, we can do a sub-meeting over the museum and see where we're at.
Sure.
Yeah,
Start to
let's do that.
merge all that
Yeah.
information together for the North Ave district. You're joining us, right?
Yeah, I'll be in North Carolina for the first weekend,
All right,
but then after that,
we'll let you go.
okay.
You're obvious.
All right, so we will adjourn
All right, so we'll,
36.
what should we?
It is, I'm gonna give my
You wanna,
word.
you wanna adjourn and end the recording?
Yeah, yeah, oh, so it's not public record.
All right, so we're good, I'm gonna stop recording.